Hi everybody, thanks for stopping by. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to tell a little story about something that happened when I was younger that's going to lead us into our topic for today, which is, yes, you can sing. If you've ever been told you were tone deaf or believe yourself to be, there's hope. You can learn to sing, and learning intonation and singing on pitch is absolutely attainable for everyone. Let's get into it. First, I want to mention it is daytime and the sun has been coming out from the clouds and behind the clouds, and so you might see some fluctuations in lighting. So I have an open window over here, and working on that. Story time. When I was younger, about 4 or 5 years old, my mother had been gifted a electric organ, and she sat me down and we were tinkering around, playing little songs, and she was showing me the piano, or the organ rather. And we were singing nursery rhymes. I remember in particular, Mary Had a Little Lamb. We're having a great time. It was so much fun. I love music. My parents were, they both played guitar and they sang in harmony together. And it was so much fun to just be a part of, learning that. Well, my father had come home, and in my mom's excitement, she wanted him to sit and listen to me sing. So she played the song, and I sang with all the gusto and bravado that a 5-year-old who is having a great time has. And my father, in his normal demeanor, just tore it apart. He criticized, that I wasn't singing in tune and that I couldn't sing, and he didn't understand why she thought it was so great. And in that moment, my heart was crushed, and I never forgot that. Now, I'm sure he doesn't remember it. I'm sure it was out of his mind as soon as the words came out of his mouth as he moved on with his day, and he never thought about it again. But for me, I lived in that moment for many, many, many years. I was a very shy child, and so for me to get any kind of confidence built up to be able to even sing in front of someone else was already quite a feat, and then to have it just dashed and destroyed that way, it really made an enormous impact on me throughout my formative years. From that point forward, I just would not sing in front of my parents, really didn't sing in front of anyone. I did most of my singing, as I've said in other videos, singing was a part of me, and that's absolutely true, but I didn't share it with anyone else. It was something that was for me only. Just was very careful to make sure no one could hear me. When we would be in church, my mom would lean down and she'd ask me to sing louder, and it was just a whisper. I did build a little bit more confidence as I grew a little older, joined choir, and then eventually formed a rock band with my friends. Now at that point, I'd built up the confidence to be able to sing in front of other people, but again, not my parents. So when I went to college and got a degree in music, particularly in music education for vocal, my parents really just didn't understand much. And then they came to my senior recital. At that point, my father heard me sing for the first time. It was a totally different scenario. So after the recital, he came up, he brought me a dozen roses and hugged me, and he was crying and talked about how proud he was. So it was a cathartic moment, a lot of healing taking place, which was good. It was nice to come full circle. Now, the reason I tell this story is for a few reasons. One, I think it's very important that when you give anyone feedback or criticism, that you do it in a way that is not going to crush someone. It's important how you speak when you are giving a critique, especially something so personal as their voice. You have to understand that the voice is a part of your person. It is part of you. when someone bashes that in a negative way, it really does make an impact and is hurtful. I've had a lot of people come to me with stories that want to sing, love to sing, but have been hurt by the words that people have said. And often it comes down to people being told that they're tone deaf or they can't sing in tune. Well, I have good news. It is correctable. If you feel that you're tone deaf or you struggle with being able to sing on pitch, these things can be overcome. Everyone can learn to sing. I don't believe in the idea that being tone deaf means it's something that you're born with and that you can't match pitch. It just takes a little practice and understanding on how the process works, and I think it absolutely can be overcome. Now, there are individuals who are not aware that they're not singing on pitch. This does happen. I've encountered situations where I've been in a large group in a choir situation, and everyone's singing the same, pitch in unison, but then there will be one person who's singing a little bit off from that and causes things to be out of tune, and that individual is unaware that they're doing that. Now, that phenomenon sometimes happens due to the fact that when you are singing in tune with the rest of everyone, you lose your personal sound. Your voice disappears into everyone else's, and it becomes kind of a unified thing. And that can sometimes make that person feel as though they're not singing or they're not singing the right note. And so then they'll modify their voice and change pitch slightly so that then they can hear their voice again. And it's just a situation where they're not aware that this is happening. Before we get into talking about how to correctly sing on pitch with good intonation, I would like to give an overview on how the process works. What is pitch? Pitch is vibrations per second. The tuning that we use is called A440. What that means is that the pitch A in between middle C and the octave C above, that A is designated to be 440 vibrations per second. Sound is vibrations that our ear picks up. And when those vibrations are at 440 vibrations per second, that is a pitch that we've designated to be the letter A. And then we tune everything else to that. Now, modern orchestras, all the music that you listen to on the radio is all tuned to that particular tuning. For all purposes, at this point in time, A equals 440 vibrations per second. The process physically in singing starts with your ear and your brain. So the ear hears the pitch, the brain translates that, and then emulates it to be sung through the larynx to match that pitch. Now here's the cool thing about the larynx. This is the TLDR version of how the larynx works in mixed pitch. So your vocal folds on either side can be lengthened, shortened, which makes them thicker or thinner. When this happens, that's what changes the pitch, the vibrations per second, from your larynx. So what happens when you hear the letter A, your brain translates it and then sends the signals to your larynx, which sets things up in just the right place to oscillate that pitch at 440 vibrations per second. It's a really fascinating process that happens and how your body knows exactly where to place the movement of those vocal folds to be able to match that. It just takes a little practice to get all of those things coordinated together, to be able to hear the pitch, then your brain doing what it needs to do, and then the physical part of the movement to set that pitch to be able to sing it. Now, the more you do this, the more you practice this process, the easier it's going to get and come more naturally to you. But if you're someone that this isn't something that you've been doing a lot, it just takes a little bit of work. I had a student that came to me. They contacted me through an advertisement that I had placed for vocal coaching and lessons. And it was a young man who was a guitar player, singer-songwriter, and he had recorded himself playing and singing one of his songs. Well, when he listened back, it was one of the first times he did that. He'd been playing guitar and singing for a long time and had received feedback that he was, out of tune. Well, when he listened to it, he realized that it was out of tune. He could hear that. And he was at first mortified. So what we did was sit down and talk a little bit about how to match pitch. I've seen some teachers sit down with a student, play the pitch, tell them to listen, and then sing the pitch slowly. This often doesn't work because if the student is already struggling with being able to hear the pitch and then emulate it, then it's like throwing darts at a dartboard. You might never hit a bullseye. Instead, what I have students do is I'll play a pitch somewhere in the mid part of their range and have them slide up into the note. I have them start by sliding slowly until they feel where those tones match. You're looking for the evenness where we're not having these oscillations fighting against each other and it becomes smoother. So we do this a few times, maybe change the pitch a little bit and have them practice sliding into it again. Then I'll play a chord and have them slide into a pitch and feel that smoothness. At that point, they could slide into any one of, if we're playing a triad, they might slide into any of those three tones and feel that it matches somewhere in there so that they can hear that. The more often that you do this exercise, the quicker you'll be able to then slide into it just a little bit, just tiny little scoops, until eventually you don't need to slide at all and you just hear the pitch and then you can match it. And it really just comes down to practice. The good news is that if you've ever thought that you couldn't sing in tune or that you were tone deaf or people have told you that you can't, that's absolutely not true and you can. I'd be glad to help anyone who is interested. I do plan on doing future videos where we'll talk a little bit more about some of these elements, learning some singing techniques. But if anybody would like to send me a message and inquire more or would like any one-on-one help, I'm absolutely glad to do so. Just shoot me a message. Don't forget to click that thumbs up, click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when videos are coming out. And I hope I see you guys again soon. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you later.